Jackson. In the Trustmark studio, Scott Waller, President and CEO, Mississippi Economic Council. One quick shot here. Jameson Irish Whiskey.
What does that mean?
Jameson Irish Whiskey is giving away fake Christmas trees made from their very own green-tinted bottles. The company has a contest page that allows the customers to write in 200 words or less why they are worthy.
You got to write?
Yeah. You got to write an essay.
So this is your reward. It's like being in school. You get an A or a B or a C or a Christmas tree.
Yeah. Jameson will then send a team of technicians to assemble the trees in the homes of the winners. Full disclosure, the bottles arrive empty, which is a bit of a bummer, but the 8.5-foot tree is valued at $5,000, sure to bring the owners
that's
plenty of holiday joy.
That's all right.
No.
Yeah, that's all right. Y'all just
right.
stay there.
Right. I ain't writing no stinking essay if the bottles are empty.
For an empty bottle,
No, just ain't happening. But morning, sir. How are you? Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Geez, a lot of things going on, and we are live, by the way, also on C Spire TV, channel 70. As well as supertalk.fm/watch. C Spire text line 601-879-4395, which has been busy this morning. But we were talking about the legislative session with Sid touched on that, but it'll be here before you know it.
It really will. And the interesting thing this time around, it seems like it just ended.
It did just
because it just did. When we were, as you know, when we were out at Hobnob this year for our virtual Hobnob that we did, we had interviewed both the speaker, lieutenant governor, and that's what we talked about. Is like it just ended. So what now? Let's think about what's next, and that's kind of where we've.
When this is over, I think there ought to be a law passed by the state legislature saying we are forbidden to have anything virtual, because that's all you hear now: virtual this, virtual that, and just it's. I'm being a little silly here, but we need to get back to normal as soon as possible, and hopefully at least. And I think most people will agree to this, by fall of next year, we should be back.
I think everybody's so ready for it, Paul, and as much as we are longing for that opportunity, we have to make sure we're doing things the safe and right way. But what it has taught me is there is nothing that can replace the human interaction, the ability to talk one-on-one with people during and after events, and it just what a difference that will make to be able to start doing that again.
Well, this virus, I had a story here, and I think it really kind of, see if I can find it. I got so much stuff here. Here it goes. 1/3 of parents believe the benefits of gathering the family together for Thanksgiving is worth the risk of catching or spreading COVID-19. 1/3. 33% of the people will take that risk just to have family together.
It's amazing the difference it makes when you're in the same room for even just a few minutes.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I think probably in the South, specifically Mississippi, it's a heck of a lot more than 1/3.
Mm-hmm.
So
I ran into my sister at a football game a couple of weeks ago. I had not seen her since probably Christmas last year, and I mean, she went up and hugged me, and I didn't think she was ever going to let go because we usually see each other a pretty good bit during the year. So.
You think about the many people out there who've lost a loved one because of COVID or anything else. Couldn't go to the funeral, people who couldn't gather in church, couldn't go to weddings and things such as that. It's been a stressful time. Another survey that we had is a record number of people have said that they have had the worst sleep ever in 2020. I'm hoping it's better in 2021. So, looking ahead to the 2021 session, what are you guys lining up for?
Well, I think there's 2 or 3 things. One is, this past session with all of the COVID issues, it sort of changed the dynamic of what we were focused on. Although we got some really good legislation passed, particularly that's dealing with COVID with the liability protections, as well as we're positioning ourselves from a workforce development standpoint to really create a one-stop shop approach to workforce, which is something that we've researched through the years at MEC and really is needed. So. Feel good about where we are, but we got to continue to focus on those things. And I think if you look at what's ahead, one of the things that we're still pushing very hard for is the ability for our National Career Readiness Certificate assessments primarily work keys that we think really at the high school level would be so beneficial for all of our students, both those that are planning to go the 4-year university route and those that are looking at the career technical route, to give them some ideas of where they stand. And, it really would just kind of help them understand what their work readiness is. And it's a program that we made a step forward with a couple of years ago, and then, of course, with COVID, it sort of took a step back. But I think we really want to focus on getting those dollars in place to allow these assessments to take place so our students can have a good understanding of what pathway exists for them to be successful in the workforce. And I think that's the biggest thing we can do is the more people we can get in our workforce, the more things that we can show we have a qualified workforce to bring jobs here to the state, we begin to address some of those other issues. As you well know, we were very much involved in pushing for removal of a new state flag, and we felt like that was one of the things, an impediment to us.
Yeah.
Get that impediment out of the way. Now that's gone. What we now have to do is capitalize on that and start working on those other areas. That didn't fix all of our problems, but it's going to make it a lot easier for us to really begin to address things such as creating that quality workforce. And I think this National Career Readiness Certificate option for high school students is going to be a key part of that.
And we talk about that so very much. By the way, it's Scott Waller, the president and CEO of Mississippi Economic Council. I was going to ask you this. Other states have their own Alabama Economic Council.
Yeah, we're technically the state's chamber of commerce. We're recognized as the state chamber of commerce.
Is that the setup in other states?
So
or is
some states they go, like in my friend in Georgia is the Georgia Chamber. In Alabama it's the Alabama Business Council.
All of them are private, though.
They're all private, nonprofit organizations.
You guys network a lot?
We do, and actually we have networked so much more since COVID as a result of we're all kind of facing the same problems.
When you look at some of the other states, certainly in the South, do you pick up some things from them and say, man, if we had that, we would be well in advance of where we are now?
The great thing about it is we don't compete against each other in terms of what we're trying to do for our members. So we share a lot of information. So when it comes to things such as...
Yeah, but if somebody's rumored the new car plant wants to come in...
Well, that's the economic development side. We're talking about taking care of it from a business environment side, and I get that. There's always going to be some competition. Yeah. But when it comes to things such as what are you doing in workforce, what have you taken place, I'll be honest with you, when we were one of the first states with the business liability protections and for businesses and healthcare, our legislation we did in Mississippi became a model that many of my counterparts in other states really looked at as saying, how can we implement some of these things here as well? So there's a good camaraderie. We really feel like there's a chance to take advantage of it. We do something called best and worst a couple of times a year where we talk best thing that we did, worst thing we did. And that's really an ideas session for all of us to share ideas. Well,
I think you'd agree we're doing things better now than we've done it ever in some cases. There are things to improve on, but that we're doing some things better than we've done before.
Well, I think I'm so optimistic about where we are as a state and the things that we can do, because now we can really address, how do we start to build on these things? And there's several key issues that when we've been talking about the upcoming session, 2 or 3 of these are not new.
Yeah.
But now we have an opportunity to take them to the next level.
And also we can look at it and see exactly why did Amazon come into Madison County and up in North Mississippi twice, and Google and Continental and Nissan and in Tupelo, of course, Toyota, and all of these other places. What brought them here? What are their needs, and how do we solve those needs? And I think the SWIB board is hopefully going to be completed by the first of the year, or at least soon after that?
Yeah, I think the board itself has now been appointed.
Okay.
And
let's talk more about that when we come back. We're talking with Scott Waller, President and CEO of Mississippi Economic Council, and the 2021 will be here before you know. It's weeks away. And in talking to...
It's hard to believe.
It is. In talking to everyone, you're still going to have the caution flags out there as far as the mask and everything else. And hopefully don't have anybody misbehaving over the holidays that we're going to have a big outbreak as far as the beginning of the session. But who knows? We'll have to wait and see. We had 699 new cases confirmed yesterday. No new deaths, which was good news. We were talking about workforce development on the SWIB board, and we still haven't appointed the head honcho yet, but that's they're working on that.
We're working on that,
Yeah.
and I will tell you, we've really put a lot of time and effort into putting the legislation that was passed into place where the SWIB board is now created. It's a little smaller than it was. The executive committee is more focused on actually looking at how do we set this Office of Workforce Development up so that we have an actual paid professional that's there to do that, and that's one of the things that we're really excited about. The opportunities there. We want to go out and find the best possible person, and we're in the process of looking for candidates right now. And I think that, once this happens and we can start to really support that effort to create that kind of, as I mentioned, one-stop shop approach, which is, if you look at the competitiveness study that MEC did back in around 2015, and then there was another study that MDA commissioned, and both said that for us to really focus our attention the way it needs to on workforce development and create the type of workforce, employers, both those that are here as well as future employers, need to be able to know who they go to and what their options are, and how do they create a workforce plan that's going to make it successful.
How is the new head of SWIB going to relate or interact with the local chamber of commerce or the local municipalities?
Well, if it works the way it's supposed to, there will be a lot of interaction between he and the local economic development and chamber folks, because they're the ones on the ground in those communities that understand it, and for him or her, whoever it ends up being, to actually be successful, they're going to need to be on the ground and out there, and the plan is that's exactly what will happen, is that they will actually work very closely, not only at the local level, but have interaction with MDA as well.
I remember I forgot who it was, talking about what the availability of our workforce, and as we get more of the Continentals and the Amazons and things like that, and then you look at the graduating class, I forgot what the number was, but it's a sizable portion of our people are not trained for just about anything.
Just about anything, and that's one of the things that I think that if you look at the efforts that we're focused on, I mean, if you talk about it, and we call it talent retention and attraction, but it's commonly referred to as brain drain, where we're losing our talented people outside the state or having a hard time tackling. So that's part of the equation. The other part of it, and the Speaker Gunn is working with this, and we've been working with him on that front. On the other side of it, I know that Lieutenant Governor Hoseman has focused on increasing the labor participation rate in the state. Well, that's done by creating a qualified worker to get into the workforce. So I think all those things play hand in hand, which is why workforce continues to be, workforce development, workforce issues continue to be the number one issue that we're facing.
That accreditation or certification too from somebody coming in from other parts of the country is something that we've got to take care of.
And when you're able to show how many people that you've actually gotten this national certification, and it really falls, the emerging workforce is where the high school is. There's two other areas. That's the existing workforce, seeing what their qualifications are, and then that's the transitioning, either those that are out of work or are coming back in. So all three of those levels are important, and that's when you begin to show, hey, we've got the workforce here that fits your needs, and here they are. And I think that's one of the
you
reasons.
mentioned this more than once as far as the certification is concerned. High school, does that just mean when you finish this at a high school level, you're certified in any particular industry?
The way it works is this is called ACT Work Keys. It's the same company that does the ACT College Entrance Exam. So all Mississippi students already take the ACT, the College Entrance Exam. It's our belief that they need to take both the work keys, which is the career readiness assessment, and the ACT college entrance. What that then does, it rates you on a level of either silver, gold, platinum, and that tells you what level of work readiness you are at that point, which helps employers. So you have, like when Yokohama came to Mississippi, they had a requirement that anyone that wanted to apply had to be a silver level or higher before they could even apply.
This is a national standard?
It's a national standard.
So is this
more and more manufacturers in particular do this.
Is this more that you're trainable or you're trained?
Well, it's a combination of both. You're at this level, which shows you can then go to the next level.
A lot of this is work ethics, too. It's not so much your training.
It's got a lot of those factors in there, and I think that's one of
how
the
you
things
speak, how you dress, how you apply for as far as your resume and everything else.
That's a big part of how we. That's one of the.
You would hope we'd learn that in school.
You would think, but that's now part of that process. But it looks at things like just your general math ability, how well you can read documents, how follow instructions, things of that nature.
So that puts it a little bit different spin, and I can understand it a little bit better there. The certification would tell any prospective employer, how many people do you have that are trainable? I'll take them. Yeah. But they got to be good quality people, basically.
And that silver level is kind of there's bronze, silver, gold, and platinum.
So if you're bronze, you're probably
bronze. You just need a little more work, and we need to work with you and get you a little higher. You're silver, then to an employer you become that trainable.
And if you're platinum,
prospect. If you're platinum, then you're pretty smart.
Yeah, you got to.
I don't think I could hit platinum, so I just there's some things you just admit and move on.
Well, and when we look at the other facet of this, and I know that there's more talk this session that I've seen in a long time, that we really do need to take a look at our whole structure as far as taxes are concerned, and at least begin to get that dialogue to be competitive here in the South.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's important, and I think that we've taken some steps in that through the years with some of the stuff that we've done, particularly with taxes for businesses that become very non-competitive for us, such as the inventory and the franchise tax, which we've dealt with. But I think what we need to do is look at it holistically and figure out what is the best thing for our state, and keeping in mind that we have to also – there's certain government functions that we have to make sure that we're able to pay for and address. So how we're going to balance all of that. So
it's shifting monies around, and that's not easy to do, certainly for a state like Mississippi.
No, it's not. And then when you have certain things like, as you know, we've been very, very involved through the years on transportation funding issues, and that's a special fund. So anything that you would shift from general fund to that, then how are you going to make it up? That's a loss to the general fund. So you have to think about it very, very holistically. And I think that's what, as I understand it, I know the speaker has talked about taking an extensive look at this. It's been done in the past, but now may be a more appropriate time for us to really dig down into it and see, okay, what are the best things that we can do to create a tax environment that's going to be, one, provide the funding that we need to operate the essential services of our state, and two, create a climate here where people will want to.
I mentioned this before and got some people talking about it, was that when you start talking about progressive, and I don't want to use the progressive in the terms of being liberal, but just mean as far as progress is concerned, and being the state that's the least likely to change, we saw that on the flag. It took us a long time to do that, but we did it. Mm-hmm. And now at this point, forget about what happened 10 years ago or 20 years ago, but you start looking at we are a dyed-in-the-wool southern state, but we did casinos a long time ago, and we did it the right way. And we were, at one point, number 3 before everybody else started laying bricks and mortar out there, number 3 in the nation. Not only that, we got sports betting. Not only that we have internet sales tax that we push through. Not only that we have medical marijuana now. Not only that we have sports betting. Right. So you start looking at the state of Mississippi, and redoing our tax code ought to be something that falls in line with that.
Yeah, and I think that would be a way of really making sure we're as efficient as possible with how we not only how we get the dollars, but how we use the dollars. And I think that when you look at you go back to the gaming industry, the fact that Mississippi, the approach that they took, where it was a free market approach, and there were certain things that the companies had to agree to do to get their license and make investments in the state. And that's why you see, particularly along the Gulf Coast, a continuation of success and growth in that industry.
Next big event from the Mississippi Economic Council is
We will be doing our Capitol Day event the first week of legislative session.
We're going to be able to do that, or we're going to do it virtual?
We are working through that right now, and hopefully we will have something.
Where's it going to be?
It most likely will be there at the Capitol. Again, it's a lot of it is just what we're able to do, given the fact that having in-person meetings are so difficult.
I got you. Hopefully things will get back to normal. Always good seeing you, sir.
It's great to see you, Paul.
Scott Waller, we will stay in touch all through the session, as we always do. President, CEO, Mississippi Economic Council. Got some sound bites that we'll clear out and some other things.